Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast, interview your ideal clients, and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Guillaume Cabane. He is the VP of Growth at Drift. I am going to be referring to him as G for the rest of this interview. So G, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, James, I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me here.
I have been looking forward to this interview for a while now. Dave Gearhart, one of your colleagues at Drift, connected us on LinkedIn and mentioned that you were doing some magic over there as the VP of Growth, and you guys have just been all over the place. It seems like you've been popping up in every one of my social feeds. I've started using the product. I love what you guys are doing, but I would love, G, for you to explain to our listeners, for the few folks that aren't familiar with Drift, what is Drift and what are you and your team up to over there?
It's easy. Drift is a conversational platform. So we help companies have conversations with their prospective customers, their future customers, their leads. And you can think of us right now as a platform that helps you have live chats and send emails to people who hit your site. And it will be much more in the future. The big difference between us and all the others is we really sit on your public site, on your marketing site, and we're not here to provide support. That's not our focus. Our focus is to empower the salespeople to have more qualifying conversations, more valuable conversations, and drive money. That's what we do.
I love it. So, G, we're going to be talking about intent-driven automation. And so you actually have done a lot of speaking on this topic. This last year, I think you did like 17 talks or something crazy like that.
Correct.
And as we were talking offline, you said that the way you break up your talk is kind of in two different parts. One, you talk about some very unique ways to find buying intent, which was extremely fascinating to me as you were explaining it to me offline. But then you also talk about the automation that goes along with that. So once you have sourced kind of that buying intent, you figured out how to find the buying intent of potential customers. Now you figured out a way to how do you automate that so that your sales reps have that information right in front of them on a regular basis. Yeah. So explain to our listeners at a high level this idea of intent-driven automation, and then we can get into each one of those kind of subsections.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll tell you how I got to this. So for context for the listeners, I've been doing B2B marketing for the past 15 years, and it's been quite a journey. I started at Apple in 2004, so it's really been quite a journey. And after I left Apple, I was in like small and medium businesses, and I like just most marketers, I did spray and pray strategies. I just cast a super wide net to try and bring whomever could buy my software or my product. And because I don't know, and most marketers don't know who that's going to be, and targeting strategies when you're small and business don't work very well. The only solution to make a profit is to bring the cost of acquisition down, right? Mm-hmm. The problem when you do that, the real problem, and it works, and don't tell me it works. But the problem when you do that is that you're giving a pretty bad experience to a very large number of people in order for some of them to self-select and raise their hand and say, yes, this product is what I need, right? Maybe 1%, 2%. And that's the click-through rates you have on your ads, on your cold emails, on whatever other strategy you have, right? That means that you're annoying 98% of people out there. And that's not a great experience. I mean,
agreed.
No one can tell me that's not great, right?
Yep.
And so that annoyed me. And the flip side of things is in B2B marketing, our average contract value is fairly high. Usually I sell software that's in the few $1,000s. of ACV per month, sometimes a bit lower, like right now, sometimes a bit higher, like before. But that gives me a lot of leverage if I have certainty that I'm hitting the right audience, the right target at the right time that they're going to close, right? I can increase, let's say, my CAC a lot. And so I was wondering, how can I make use of that money in the best ways possible? And so I started buying data. The first thing I wanted to do is I referred to salespeople. My wife is a great saleswoman. She sells really well, has higher conversion rates than anyone else in her company. And I went into some of her meetings, and she has this uncanny ability to relate with anyone that she's selling to. She sells face-to-face. And it's really uncanny. And I thought, what is she doing? She's actually gathering data information on the person so that she can relate and create trust and then personalize her pitch, the price of the product that she's selling, to the person that she's selling to. And I thought about what we do in marketing on our websites. We do the exact opposite of what the best salespeople do, right? We personalize nothing. It's the same price, the same message, the same product, pitched in the same way. And I thought, okay, I got to do two things. One, I got to capture data on the people who are coming to me. And two, I got to change the experience, make it more relevant. And I started doing that a few years ago by capturing the IP data when they hit my website to use Clearbit. For those who don't know, it's a great third-party data provider, and they sell email to personal profile, business profile, and IP address to company data. So when someone hits your website with an IP, everyone has an IP address, for those that don't know, they hit your website, and you know which company they work for, right? In about 30 to 40% of the cases. That's the coverage. And so now you know which companies are coming to you. And what I did is I built lead scoring models with another company. It's called MadKudu, MADKUDU, to predict the value of each of those visitors coming to me based on past conversions. So based on who paid in the past, I was able to build a model that predicts who's going to pay in the future, who's likely to pay in the future. And now that I know which companies are coming to my site, I can get a value for those still anonymous visitors, right? And that works great. And so we changed the website. We did funny things that worked really well, like pop up the live chat, actually the Drift live chat before I worked at Drift, based on that score, because I can predict that conversation is going to be valuable, that my sales rep, who I'm paying a lot, is not going to lose that time. And that's great. However, there was something that was annoying. There's something that's really on my shoulder, which was, well, this is just waiting for people to come to my site. I'm not doing a better job of getting out there, right? Sure, I'm converting more, but I'm converting more of the 1% of people who come to my site. That's extremely passive. And so I started wondering, how can I capture the buying intent, right, before it is expressed in coming to my website? And I looked, and I found some of those intent sources, and I'm focusing a lot of time on finding that. I'm going to give you a few examples. Most of my time, I sell B2B software. That's what I do for a trade. And maybe you know there's a site called G2 Crowd.
Yep.
And G2 Crowd is a site that does B2B software reviews. It's pretty popular. And you've probably been there as a visitor. Maybe you have one of your products listed there. What you might not know is that if you have one of your products listed and you have a premium profile, you can actually buy it for an extra, the IP data of visitors to your page, your category, and even your competitor's page.
That, to me, whenever you mention that offline, G, I want listeners to make sure that they catch that. So you can, if you have a premium profile on G2 Crowd, you can pay an additional fee to get access to not just the people checking out your profile, but people that are checking out the category as well as your competitors, and you can access that IP data, correct? Not necessarily their email, but their IP information.
Not their email. So you don't know who that person is, but you know that this company has viewed a specific page which you're interested in, that you're monitoring. And I even know I can then condense that. And for the moment, what I do is that I put that on Salesforce for my sales rep to follow up, but I condense all the page views from the same company in one opportunity. And after 1 hour after the last page view, I ping them on Slack and I say, this, it's done automatically. And the bot says, this company viewed 3, 4, 5 G2 Crowd pages. Here are the pages, and they can see me, Drift, versus my competitor. They can see the category page. They see the number of people. And if that's not buying intent, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. And then at that point, so right now you are kind of putting you've automated it so that opportunity gets delivered to a sales rep, and then it's on the sales rep to kind of craft messaging that is less creepy than, hey, we saw you bouncing around G2 Crowd. What does that messaging tend to look like?
Yeah, sure. So usually it's something different. It says, hey, we thought that Drift can help you generate more leads, or like, hey, are you still using forms on your website? And we never refer to the buying intent, right? That would not be smart, it'd be creepy. But I think what's important is one of the things that people, I say, don't understand is we all use lead scoring models. Lead scoring models tell you the fit. Is this company, does it have the means to pay? Does it have the technology? Is it likely to pay? It does not tell you when. And if I take, like, let's say a fairly large company that I want to sell to, if I want to sell to maybe Nike, right? Nike has all the attributes to buy Drift, the technology, the size, they've got the sales reps. Sure, they've got everything. But without knowing, when and which department and what's the problem that they're trying to solve, I'm never going to break into that account, ever, right? I can't just send a bunch of cold emails to people at Nike, say, hey, are you interested in Drift? I can't send that every month in the hopes that 1 month is going to work out. The second month, they're going to kill me. So the buying intent tells you when. And I think that's the really critical piece.
That makes perfect sense. And I've always, it's a question I've asked so many people, G, this idea of, like, when you're doing outbound, how do you do it in a way that is relevant and helpful and actually adds value and doesn't just reek of, this automation and you just stuck me in a list and I'm getting blasted.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
this response, this approach, particularly with G2 Crowd, looking at IP data of the companies that have looked at, other competitors in your category, looked at your profile. You're also using Bombora as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. So that's another example. And there's like dozens of such examples. Another one that I like a lot, and you named it correctly, Bombora, is a company that places tracking pixels on business articles. They've got about 3,000 publishers covered. And what happens is that when someone hits such an article, of course, their IP is captured. They do the same strategy of going from the IP to the company data. But what they do extra is that they have a bot that goes to that article, that crawls that site, and that extracts the topics out with natural language processing, extracts the topics of that page. And then in a database, they're going to attach and say, okay, this company had someone read about that topic. And they just combine that, and they remove the natural fact that everyone in the company is reading about some stuff all the time. So they normalize that, remove the noise, and they see when there's a spike. When there's a surge or spike, they say, well, this company is now maybe 10 people, 15 people are reading about, in my case, live chat. They just share the link on Slack. And now I'm discovering intent to what they're reading. Even more than that, I've actually in the past sent to Bombora the past conversions to all the companies that paid for my product for the past 12 months. And they have told me what they have read 3, 6, 9, 12 months before converting. And so I can build the path of topics that bring companies to me. And I can then expand. And let's look at all the other companies that are also reading about those same topics, but haven't come to me and reach out to them because I know they're in the right cycle. And to cover a lot of other that very quickly, I buy data from Predict Leads to know who's hiring who. I can look at when a company is hiring a VP of demand gen. That's a great intent for me. I know when they open and when they close the job rec. I can buy data on when companies are launching a mobile app or when they're about to refresh a new mobile app with Apptopia. I can buy data from Data9 that tells me when they're changing that technology stack on the website and how much they're paying for it. So there's a lot of intent sources that are way before and that enable me to compute an intent score. And I think what's important is that tells me, combined with the lead score, how much I can invest trying to close that company, right? Because I know how much they're going to close for based on lead score, based on what's my average contract value. Based on the intent, I know how high the intent is compared to how high it should be or it is for people who have paid. Mm-hmm. And that just tells me, hey, maybe have a 10% chance, 15, 20% chance of closing them. And if my ACV is, say, like $1,000, well, and so that brings me like $200, $250 worth value for that lead. And I want to invest at least 50% of that. Now I can invest anywhere between, $50 and $75, right? And I'll keep a 50% margin. So that's how I think of it. Now that I know that one specific company, I can invest $50, the question is, what can I do with that? Because that's a lot of money once I know the company. And so the easiest one is just to create an opportunity in Salesforce and let the sales rep go after it. And that's going to cost you $50 all right because of human cost. There's also other ways. And right now I'm trying to help the salespeople by empowering them, giving more data. Eventually we will automate part of that. So right now, if you look at how salespeople take that data, they look at the different signals on a company, and then they craft an email. That's basically what they do. Or they place a call, right? That's what they do. And they try to make that call or that email relevant. So the automation firstly will do that. It will take the data, the intent data, and it's going to look at who can we reach within that company, who are those people, and based on who those individuals are, it will craft the best possible email. And that's fairly easy. There's like tools like Crystal Knows that helps you craft a specific email for a specific person based on their psychology profile. There's tools like Nova that tell you how to write the right intro based on what they're publishing on Instagram or on Twitter. And so you can combine those sources and craft one email if you know who you want to reach. And you're going to get, best cases when I automate that, I get around 15% response rate, which is pretty high already. That's just 1 out of 7. And so there's other strategies you can do, like displaying some ads to specific companies, sending gifts, or sending handwritten letters, all automatically based on how much you want to invest. And based on that, you can then have a flow which goes maybe starts with an email and then goes to a gift if there's no response, or the other way around if you know that the predicted value is very high and you want to hit them hard initially.
Gee, this has been fantastic. You've opened my eyes to some just completely different ways of thinking about how do we find buyers when they are looking for a solution like ours, instead of just having to wait for them to find our website, for the sliver of people that find us. How do we go out and find them? This has been incredibly beneficial. If there's somebody
it's very selfish. It's really selfish. You know why? Because I'm a buyer. I receive all those horrible emails all the time, right? And so if I can create a new way for people to sell and people to buy that focus on the right people at the right time with the right message, my experience and my life as a B2B marketer who buys technology will be better.
Yeah.
Let's look at it that way.
I am so grateful that you have shared such a tangible and practical way to do this. Like I said, I've asked so many people, how do you get over the spray and pray kind of mentality? And I think this is absolutely an effective way to do it, by finding buying intent using Bombora, using G2 Crowd. You mentioned several more. If there's somebody listening to this, G, that wants to stay connected with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Probably LinkedIn. Just type linkedin.com/James-Cabane, Cabane, Charlie Alpha Bravo Alpha Napoli Echo is my last name. And that's how you can find me.
Gee, this is, again, this has been incredible. I really appreciate your time today. So thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
If you've been getting value from this podcast, you can help us reach more people by reviewing the show on iTunes. Here's how you can leave a review in less than a minute. Open your podcast app and tap the search icon in the bottom right corner. Type in B2B Growth, then select our show. Once you're there, tap the Reviews tab and tell us what you think of the show. These reviews help us out a ton.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.